Here we go. That's the entrance to the Historic Hotel of California.
Oh.
Mizpah Hotel. Okay. So.
Wow.
And the doors are sticky and they're cold.
Yeah. Our door holds to the deal now.
Wow.
Now it's got cold.
Hey there. Hello, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Ooh. So, yeah, feeling it's gonna be too early, but we'll check. We'll ask.
Early, we're wondering if you can check in now. We got the red.
Lady in red.
Lady in red.
Okay, so our elevator is out right now.
Okay. We're at the Mizpah Hotel.
We had to walk up 5 flights because the elevator was broken.
Yeah. Okay, see, 5 flights with all of our luggage. We did it in one fell swoop, but we stopped at each landing. I think this is too dark to really read it. I'll see if I can get that later. But so we're in room 504. I already opened it. My first time in. Here's the bathroom. Lovely.
Oh, it's like a bathroom.
And then, yes. And we got this, and oh, it is beautiful.
Really pretty.
It really is. I love burgundy, so that's just a really nice touch to it.
Although, of
course, we had to, yeah.
The lighting one did look actually a little cooler if you're into that whole.
Yeah. And then there's a view of the town.
The Old West marked by violence, so it's no wonder that the Mizpah Hotel has its share of ghosts, none more famous than the beautiful and tragic Lady in Red. In life, she was a naive and relatively inexperienced member of the world's oldest profession, who plied her trade in the hotel. Though her origins are for the most part unconfirmed, it is certain that she was murdered in front of room 502 on the 5th floor of the Mizpah Hotel. She was said to have been caught off guard by a jealous lover who strangled her to death. Some say she was also stabbed. Since her premature death in the early 1900s, her presence has been widely reported by hotel staff and guests. Footsteps have been heard in empty hallways, numbers have lit up on unplugged keno boards, and pearls like the ones she wore the night she was killed have been found on guests' pillows.
I thus saw in vivid light a picture all unnoticed before. It was the portrait of a young girl just ripening into womanhood. I glanced at the painting hurriedly and then closed my eyes. Why I did this was not at first apparent even to my own perception. But while my lids remained thus shut, I ran over in my mind my reason for so shutting them. It was an impulsive movement to gain time for thought, to make sure that the vision had not deceived me, to calm and subdue my fancy for a more sober and certain gaze. In a very few moments, I again looked fixedly at the painting. That I now saw aright, I could not and would not doubt, for the first flashing of the candles upon that canvas had seemed to dissipate the dreamy stupor which was stealing over my senses, and to startle me at once into waking life. The portrait, I have already said, was that of a young girl. It was a mere head and shoulders, done in what is technically termed a vignette manner, much in the same style of favorite heads of Sully. The arms, the bosom, and even the ends of the radiant hair melted imperceptibly into the vague yet deep shadow which formed the background of the whole. The frame was oval, richly gilded and filigreed and moresque. As a thing of art, nothing could be more admirable than the painting itself, but it could have been neither the execution of the work nor the immortal beauty of the countenance which had so suddenly and so vehemently moved me. Least of all could it have been that my fancy, shaken from its half-slumber, had mistaken the head for that of a living person. I saw at once that the peculiarities of the design, of the vignetting, and of the frame must have instantly dispelled such idea, must have prevented even its momentary entertainment. Thinking earnestly upon these points, I remained for an hour perhaps, half sitting, half reclining, with my vision riveted upon the portrait. At length, satisfied with the true secrets of its effect, I fell back within the bed. I had found the spell of the picture in an absolute life-likeness of expression which, at first startling, finally confounded, subdued, and appalled me. With a deep and reverent awe, I replaced the candelabrum in its former position. The cause of my deep agitation being thus shut from view, I sought eagerly the volume which discussed the paintings and their histories. Turning to the number which designated the oval portrait, I there read the vague and quaint words which follow. She was a maiden of rarest beauty, and not more lovely than full of glee. And evil was the hour when she saw, and loved, and wedded the painter. He, passionate, studious, austere, and having already a pride in his art, she a maiden of rarest beauty, and not more lovely and full of glee, all light and smiles and frolicsome as the young fawn, loving and cherishing all things, hating only the art which was her rival, dreading only the palette and brushes and other untoward instruments which deprived her of the countenance of her lover. It was thus a terrible thing for this lady to hear the painter speak of his desire to betray even his young bride. But she was humble and obedient, and sat meekly for many weeks in the dark, high-turned chamber, where the light dripped upon the pale canvas only from overhead. But he, the painter, took glory in his work, which went on from hour to hour and from day to day, and he was a passionate and wild and moody man who became lost in reveries, so that he would not see that the light which fell so ghastly in that lone turret withered the health and spirits of his bride, who pined visibly to all but him. Yet she smiled, on and still on, uncomplainingly, because she saw that the painter, who had high renown, took a fervid and burning pleasure in his task, and wrought day and night to depict her who so loved him, yet who grew daily more dispirited and weak. And in sooth, some who behind the portrait spoke of its resemblance in low words, as of a mighty marvel, and a proof not less of the power of the painter than of his deep love for her whom he depicted so surpassingly well. But at length, as the labor drew nearer to its conclusion, there were admitted none into the turret. The painter had grown wild with the ardour of his work, and turned his eyes from the canvas rarely, even to regard the countenance of his wife. and he would not see that the tints which he spread upon the canvas were drawn from the cheeks of her who sat beside him. And when many weeks had passed, and but little remained to do save one brush upon the mouth and one tint upon the eye, the spirit of the lady again flickered up as the flame within the socket of the lamp, and then the brush was given, and then the tint was placed. And for one moment the painter stood entranced before the work which he had wrought, but in the next, while he yet gazed, he grew tremulous and very pallid and aghast, and cried with a loud voice, "This is indeed life itself," turned suddenly to regard his beloved. She was dead.